Welcome to First Parish in Needham, a Unitarian Universalist congregation of humanists, theists, atheists, agnostics, seekers, and interfaith families. I'm David Menard, and I'm here with Bob DeNoble, with whom I've had a very long friendship, all thanks to First Parish. He joins me in welcoming everyone this morning. You can learn more about what's happening at First Parish by going to our website, uuneedham.org, and signing our weekly email newsletter, signing up for it, or by following us on social media. Our order of service is online too, at the CR code in the pews, and at the website, uuneedham.updates.church. Please speak with our ushers, greeters, and Zoom hosts if you have questions or accessibility needs. At First Parish, we covenant to live out our shared values of the inherent worth and dignity of every person, respecting the earth and co-creating beloved community. Whoever you are, whoever you love, whatever your background or identity, whatever your age or stage, whether you walked or rolled in, and wherever you're participating from, you are welcome here. And so if you are new to First Parish or just starting to check us out, we say, come grow with us. So Bob, we're going to try to make this look really spontaneous. Bob, how long have we, you and I, from time to time, been doing the pledge drive?
David, believe it or not, it's close to 35 years. It's been a very long time, and we've been through many ministers, as you can see on the chart. But yeah, we've been doing it for quite a long time, and the way we did it way back then, and some people will remember, we used to have these cars, and we had a team of about 15 people that would gather, and we would have assignments, and we would call the people who we would be asked to contact, and we actually visited their homes, and we actually visited their homes, and it turned out to be such a lovely experience, and I had so many great conversations with people, but that was what we did.
Yeah, our team leader for many years was Jack Godhart. I'm sure there are folks in the pews who remember Jack, who was a true bastion of this church. We loved him, we did, but he was not to be trifled with at all.
Yeah.
We had to follow those directions just perfectly.
Well, we did, and Jack, some of you who do remember Jack, was a very tall man. He was your quintessential New Englander, if you know what I mean. And Jack would give us an assignment, and he would know who was best to see who, and he also knew who he reserved for himself to contact.
That's, it's interesting you mentioned that. I'd kind of forgotten that. But imagine that, direct personal contact, Unitarian Universalists, asking other people for money in their face. It was amazing. But what was the upside of doing that?
Okay, so the real upside was it took us about a week, maybe two, and it was over.
The pledge drive was over in a week or two. Done. You didn't have us week after week doing all this kind of thing. Right?
Yeah. And, back in the day, before all the electronic gadgets that we all have, it was person to person and very effective.
Well, Bob,
maybe we should do that again. I don't know.
Yeah. I know everybody is finding this trip down memory lane very interesting, but people do want to know how we're doing, and I'm going to say 80% toward that goal. But compared to last year, we're probably marginally behind from where we were at this time.
Right. So just to give you concrete facts and numbers, so the goal this year, in order to fully fund all of the activities in the church, was about 340,000 needed in pledges. We're about 75,000 shy of that.
$75,000.
75,000, yeah. But, you know, the good news is that there are still a substantial number of people who have not yet pledged. So now is the time when we have to reach out to those folks, and we understand some folks are unable to or can't match what they did last year, but in any event, in prior years, it's been very effective for us to reach out to people person to person, and if necessary, make a home visit. And that's the stage we're at now. So we're trying to, you know, get to that point because, you know, we're at a point, and I called it an inflection point of the church, and I'm sure that many other times throughout history, there's been the ups and the downs of what goes on within any organization, not only a church. But we're at that point. You know, over the past few years, and I mean, all of you will remember, we've lost some real stalwarts of this church. People who contributed their time, their service, and their financial support. And you know, I can go down the list, but you all know some of you know who I'm talking about. And that's where we're at. So we need to have the new infusion, you know, the uptick from people to replace those who have moved and, quite frankly, moved on, you know.
So it is the final stage of the drive, and there's still all the existing ways in which you can give. You can call us anytime, seriously. We're up till at least 1 a.m.
Yeah.
Give us a call.
We're up, you know, we're watching Stephen Colbert and stuff like that, right?
Email us, call the office, meet us at the table over here. But if you don't want to hear our gravelly voices on the phone asking for money, just do it now.
Yeah. And so just to acknowledge the pledge team, which is whittled down from that 15 I mentioned before to just 3, you know?
Where's the other one?
Well, Kevin is off luxuriating in Florida. Right
And
now.
moral support from Dara at all times. Dara gives us lots of
Dara, and has been really wonderful. But yeah, so it's Kevin McCormick who's really been a key player here, and like I said, he's away. But David and myself and the 3 of us, along with Dara, and Katie when she's on board. So here we are. I mean, we're at that stage now where we need to get over that final hurdle.
Thanks, Bob.
David, you're the man. Thank you all.
Thank you. Thank you, Bob and David. We light our chalice this morning with words by Latinx UU minister and hospital chaplain, Reverend Tanya Marquez. It is now, when we are called as witnesses of the world, to mend it, to change its course, to restore it. It is now when we are called to act on our values, not to hide, not to fear, but to be bold and loud. It is now that we are called to continue our fight for justice, to organize, to speak up. It is now. Let us gather, let us give each other courage, and let us worship. Our opening hymn this morning comes to us from the South African anti-apartheid movement, and it's called Courage, My Friends. It was a song that was sung as people were taken to jail for their activism and resistance during apartheid in South Africa. Chris and the choir are going to teach it to us, and we're also going to sing it a few other times throughout today's service.
Speaking of courage, the choir's never heard this before today, so I appreciate the choir members for helping me out to teach this hymn. So it sounds like this. Courage, my friends, you do not go alone. We will go with you and sing your spirit home. Let's try it all together. Courage, my friends, you do not go alone. We will go with you and sing your spirit home. We're gonna do it 2 more times. Courage, my friends, you do not go alone. We will go with you and sing your spirit home. Courage, my friends, you do not go alone. We will go with you and sing your spirit home.
In the Unitarian Universalist tradition, the covenant is a set of promises the membership of a congregation strives to honor with one another and out in the world. Whether we participate in our community online or in the building, we strive to live these promises every day. Please say along with me the words of our parish covenant as in your order of service and on the screen. We gather as a loving community to encourage and comfort one another. We gather as a diverse community to support each other in our search for spiritual truth. We gather as a service community to live our beliefs through action and care for our world.
Time for all ages, everybody. I'm super excited. So we're going to skip the guessing because we got a full service today. Does somebody want to come up and just open? Vivian, would you like to come up? Thank you. It's a lion! Right. We like to use our imaginations here. We had no lion, so we have a lion dog. I would have been great if it was a liger, though, I'm just saying. So, we have a lion in our Wonder Box. Why do y'all suppose there was a lion? You guys got it in one. I was like, this is going to take a while. You got it in one. Lions are known to be fierce and brave and courageous. So today we are going to learn about how to be like a lion. And as we said, lions are big, and they're powerful, and they're brave, and sometimes they're called the kings and queens of the jungle. And we're going to learn how we can be as brave as a lion. Are y'all ready? Come on, everybody. Yes. Thank you. All right. So we're going to start with what we talked about last week with Reverend Jenna. We have to be courageous and brave because what's the other side? We got things we're afraid of. And last week with Reverend Jenna, you all named that you don't like spiders, sharks, snakes, flash floods, fear of failure, loneliness, and the death of a loved one. Those are all things to be afraid of. I'm going to add my own because I wasn't here last week. I am afraid to sing aloud in public. There's reasons for that. I can sing in my car, but not in public. So everyone feels scared sometimes. It is truly part of being human. But here's another question that I'm curious about. Do you ever feel brave? And I wonder what it takes for you to feel brave. So I want to tell you something about being brave. And being brave does not mean that you're never afraid. It's the opposite. Being brave means you are afraid and you move forward anyway. You face your fears even though you're afraid. And luckily, there are a few things that we can do to practice helping ourselves feel brave. You can practice believing in yourself, believing in your own strength, in your own power and your own abilities. You can practice being confident by learning to love yourself just as you are and to be proud of who you are. Being confident and believing in yourselves can help you feel brave enough to show up in spite of your fears. So, a lion is big and strong and powerful, and so are you. I want you to puff out your chest, full of pride. Now flex your muscles and say, I am strong. I am strong. I am powerful. I am powerful. And now I am brave. Are you guys starting to feel brave like a lion? Yes. So thank you for that segue, because when lions want to show other animals that they are strong and they're brave, they will growl or even roar. So we're going to do a breathing exercise together in which we'll be taking deep breaths followed by growls and roars. We're going to start with a growl. So in a minute, we're going to take a deep breath in, fill up our chests with air, and then show your powerful, strong lion teeth and let out your breath in a long, rumbling growl. Ready? Breathe in. I am wishing that you guys could see our faces. It's great. Okay. Now, this time, we're going to do another deep breath, and on the count of 3, we're going to roar and show everyone how strong and powerful you are. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Roar! Wow, we are good. Those were some strong roars. I don't know if I'm afraid or feeling brave. So one last step we've got for practicing being brave can be affirmations. And affirmations are words we can say about ourselves to remember how wonderful we are. So my friend Reverend Jenna and I, we're going to take turns sharing some of our affirmations.
I believe in myself.
I am proud to be me.
I am strong on the inside.
When I feel afraid, I will choose to be brave.
I have courage and confidence.
I embrace the greatness within me.
With every breath, I feel stronger.
Nice. Those are good affirmations. So as we come to the end of our Time for All Ages, I would love it if you would join Reverend Jenna and me in singing our Courage song again. And believe it or not, we're going to lead it. Chris said he'd help us. But we're going to take our courage in hand and lead our Courage song. Reverend Jenna.
And let's remember what Dara said at the beginning, that she has a fear of public singing, and here she goes, so you can too. Courage, courage, my friend, you do not go alone. We will go with you and sing your spirit home.
Thank you, everybody. Here ends our Time for All Ages.
We are, well, actually, Dara did so good. Can you all give Dara a round of applause? We are living through some scary times right now. We are living through times where some powerful and rich white men are trying to create enough fear, confusion, and overwhelm that nobody stops them as they gamble away our futures and devalue the lives of anyone who's different than them. It's becoming clear that in order to meet this moment, we need to channel our courage and our bravery. As Dara just reminded us, being brave does not mean that we are never afraid. Being brave means feeling afraid, but facing our fears anyways. But goodness, is that hard work? It's so much easier to work for justice and serve our communities and families when we are not in a place of fear. But here is the good news. Amongst all 200 and something of us in this wonderful First Parish community, we have countless stories of pushing through fear to do something hard and meaningful. I can assure you that even if you don't think of yourself as a brave person, there have been times that you did something, despite your body wanting to sprint in the other direction or freeze and shut down. I know that that's true. So today, let's remind ourselves of how much collective courage we have in this room. Let's be encouraged by each other's stories, by all the ways in which all of us, over the course of our entire lives, have overcome our fears to do what is right, true, and just. And that's in big ways, like leaving a situation that wasn't right for us, or risking being unpopular in order to do the right thing. And that's in smaller ways too, like learning to ride bikes, or swim, or drive, or dance when we first didn't know how to. And so for these Courage Chronicles, these stories that we're going to hear this morning, first we will hear from Betty Vogel. And then, as both a reflection on courage and persevering to do what is right, even when it's hard, and to introduce our offering collection this morning, we'll hear from two high school students at our UU congregation in Newton over the video, named Sky and Emily. And later on in the service, we'll hear from Becky Siebens. So first, Betty.
What I am going to read is something that I wrote a very long time ago. I have updated it a bit. A mixed blessing is being awarded a large sum of money in coins and having nothing to carry it in. Can you picture that? Wishing for an answer and then not being sure what to do with the results. What a dilemma. In 1988, I was diagnosed with multiple sclerosis. What follows is an article I wrote when I began a new treatment. I've updated parts of it. because that was a long time ago. The new treatment for MS using beta-seron is in many ways a mixed blessing. On one hand, we marvel at the advancement of science to produce such a drug to slow the progression of the disease. On the other hand, we know very little about the effects it will have on us over a prolonged period of time. What do we do? I decided to take beta-seron. My decision comes as a mixed blessing. By taking this medication, I shall hopefully be in remission for a very long time. And I'm also very apprehensive about how my body will react. In 1988, I had an exacerbation which created the need for steroids. Unlike most people I met, I had a prolonged reaction to the medications for about 3 weeks. The good news is that since then, my relapses have been few and very minor. So that mixed blessing worked out well. Once I qualified for beta-seron, my husband and I went to the hospital and watched a video which covered all aspects of the medication, including side effects. There was total silence at the conclusion of the video. We wondered what kind of blessing we had chosen. Never having given myself an injection, my husband and I were unsure of what to expect. The oranges we experimented on never complained. I guess if they could handle it, so could I. After a couple of weeks injecting oranges, we returned to the hospital to learn how to mix the medication, prepare the syringes, and inject. Oranges are one thing, but injecting myself was a very different matter. I overcame my apprehension and performed the deed. My diploma for my actions was a prescription for the drug. There is something truly remarkable about the attitudes of those of us with MS and other disabilities. We seem to have the fortitude to make the best of what we have and try to improve our situation wherever possible. What began as a mixed blessing turned into a blessing in disguise. Keeping my spirits up, I am confident. In the end, one's attitude determines one's altitude. 37 years have passed. I take a different medication now, and I am still going strong, as you can see. If we can face our fears, we will have the courage to succeed in whatever path we follow, and mixed blessings won't be insurmountable challenges.
Hi, I am Sky Larson.
And I am Emily Reardon. Emily and I are both sophomores at Newton North High School, and last year we started a fundraising and awareness project for the housing crisis. We both have personal reasons that brought us to this project. My mother grew up in Queens, New York, in a subsidized one-bedroom apartment. My grandma, who raised her alone, didn't have a steady income. This left my mom always uncertain of how stable her home really was. At times, my mom had to crash at relatives' houses. She was always looking for a way to stay out of the streets. My grandma told me that she never even considered seeking support at a homeless shelter because she didn't trust that they were safe for her daughter. And my mother told me that many people facing homelessness are unheard or overlooked by society, and this isolation can dig an even deeper hole. Everyone experiencing homelessness deserves the safety and resources that homeless shelters were founded to provide. But creating that environment requires outside support.
For me, I was adopted, and although it is not something that I am yet used to sharing, it is something that I often think about. Now, I was born into a situation not fit for a child.
But I was taken out of that same situation before I could speak for myself, before I could do anything for myself. I was given a second chance, a new life. I was lucky. But I often think what my life would be like if the dice rolled the other way. And then I think of all of those people who did not get the second chance that I did. I think of how out of your control your life can be, and how the positions in life that people are in does not always have anything to do with something they have done. It has not only given me this perspective, but a sense of responsibility to pay it forward and do something with the second chance that I was given.
While at a homeless organization, we won't disclose names or location for privacy, but a homeless individual wanted the leaders to recommend an annual art show that he attended last year. He looked up the date only to find that it had already passed. How could I have missed it? I am so sorry, guys. It was upsetting to hear how frustrated he was with himself, but nothing could have prepared us for what he said next. It was right next to the bench that I sleep on every night. The idea of this kind, considerate man sitting with us in this circle, going to sleep on a cold metal bench in the middle of winter, made everything we are doing mean even more. I can bundle up in layers of clothes to walk to school for 10 minutes, while this man spends 12 hours in the cold every night. He wanted to share something exciting with us and tell us something that might brighten our day. And he did all of this knowing that at the end of the day, he would return to this same cold metal bench. This man did nothing to deserve spending his nights with cold metal pressed against his back. And he could so easily be me or you if the dice rolled the other way.
Now, some may wonder why he wouldn't stay in a shelter. But in reality, more than 50% of all unhoused individuals are unsheltered. Many homeless individuals find shelters too demoralizing or too dangerous. They would rather sleep on the streets, a place equated and known for violence, insecurity, drugs, and theft. It is a choice between two evils. For those who do wish to stay in a shelter, many are denied access because of the ever-growing bed shortage. People have to enter bed lotteries at a chance for somewhere to stay the night. Think of that. Luck, determining if you get to sleep on a bed or a bench. And as the nights grow colder, the loss of this bed lottery could mean the loss of a life. Now the question arises, what is a person in need supposed to do? How are they supposed to change their position in life if their days are filled with roaming the streets, desperately trying to find someone to take them in? And that is why we started this project. We began by fundraising,
Or attempting to fundraise. We attend a school with over 2,000 students, so we thought, piece of cake. We'll have a couple bake sales and a drive and get so many donations.
boy, were we wrong.
The next months were filled with being brushed aside, ignored, elbow deep in burnt cookies and rejection, but it made us realize that although we are youth, which adds difficulty, we also had a 2,000 plus audience at our fingertips. We realized how many people see an issue and want to help, but feel that it's not their responsibility, or that their contribution couldn't make a difference. These huge world issues can feel daunting, and a single person's contribution can feel so insignificant that they don't even try. What if you or your loved ones were in this situation? Wouldn't you want someone to try? Someone to care?
But unfortunately, the thing that we heard the most was, "That's nice," followed by the person turning their back and walking away. But no one is above homelessness. Not me, you, your friends, or your family. All it takes is one health crisis, a business closing, and everything disappears. We talked to a man whose life was changed forever. He said, "I went from a house, 2 cars, and a family to nothing." Now, many would hear this story and assume that drugs or prison were involved. It is commonly assumed that those facing homelessness are addicts, criminals, or did something to deserve the position that they are in, when in reality, it can be completely uncontrollable. After speaking to this man, it was clear that his mental health had played a significant role in the position that he was in today. It is impossible to understand all that someone is going through. It is especially hard when we do not take the time to listen. A single event can escalate, and before you know it, you have lost everything. But when we make assumptions, we justify our avoidance. We tell ourselves it's okay. We realized how many people do this, how many people turn their back. But this only propelled our want to contribute, and we knew that there were people out there who cared. We just needed to find them. When we spoke to our first UU congregation, we felt the overwhelming support we had always dreamed of, and we knew that this was something that we wanted to continue. That is why we are here today. We realize the power of words and that our voices matter. We found that the smallest acts of kindness can have the biggest impact on someone's life. We spoke to a homeless man who, when asked what resources he needed, said, "I could use a backpack." He talked about how much it would help him if he could move all of his things, and I thought of a man, fitting all of his food, clothes, anything that meant something to him in life into a single bag, a bag that he didn't even have. I think of my own long grocery lists, Christmas lists, all the things that we find time to wish for, despite the fact we have everything we need and more. This man did not have what he needed, and he had a single item list. He said, "I don't need a new coat. Mine just has holes in it. It just needs some patches. I have a job interview." Now, it would not take much to help this man fix his jacket, but it would make a huge difference in his life.
If this man could walk into a job interview feeling dignified and confident, this very interview could change the course of his life, could provide him with a steady income and hope. Every one of you can make a difference. No matter how big or small, every contribution has the power to change a life.
Thank you.
As we just heard, our collection this morning is going to be shared per Emily and Sky's request with the Community Day Center of Waltham. To donate to today's offering, you can use one of 3 different methods, as described in your orders of service. You can use our text to give program through the number 73256. You can donate through the website, uuneedham.org, or drop a check or cash into the collection plate, or mail a check to First Parish. Whichever way you donate, please remember to specify whether your donation is meant for the plate collection or for your annual pledge. And finally, many thanks for today's altar flowers this morning, which were given by the Barbieri family, in loving memory of Carla's father, James Patrick English, who was born on St. Patrick's Day. And the flowers on the floor in the chancel were a gift from Russell Pratt's family after his memorial service, which was held here yesterday at the church. Thank you for everything you were able to give this morning. May the ushers please now come forward. I don't know if it feels wrong or right to pray after that. Probably both. Will you all join me in the spirit of prayer and meditation? Dear ones, courage indeed. The news this week was one blow after another. Mahmoud Khalil, inhumane interrogations at our very own Boston Logan Airport. Education department layoffs en masse. And not to mention that this Sunday marks the 5th anniversary of COVID-19 related lockdowns at this church and across the state. Spirit of life and love, help us reorient where we are holding some of the world's pains and traumas in our body, to shift toward holding that pain not on our individual shoulders or backs or guts or jaws, but in the webbed and holy netting in between us. Spirit of life and love, aid us as we turn inward, plumbing our own depths for memories of courageous action and loving. We know it's there. Aid us as we turn outward, venturing to trust one another, to hold our vulnerabilities and doubts, to steward courage when we have little, and to do this work of resistance and noncompliance together with us. Spirit of life and love, ground us in your love, hold us in our fears, plant in us the seeds of courageous resistance. And in the words of Reverend Julian Jamaica Soto, our UU colleague, remind us, often because we will need it, that all of us need all of us to make it. Amen. For the sake of time, we're going to skip over the meditative hymn this morning and go ahead and invite Becky Siebens up to share her courage reflection.
The world is full of shadows. Let us shine well, you in your dark corner and I in mine. That's the chorus of a French song I learned when I was 13 and went to France for the first time as an au pair for my aunt, who had 4 young kids. The song always came at the end of a family gathering with all the cousins of many generations coming together in the living room of a farmhouse on the shore of Lake Geneva. The world is full of shadows. Let us shine well, you in your dark corner and I in mine. My grandmother was French. She married an American after World War I, became an immigrant, and raised their family here in America. Traveling with my aunt, I was meeting my grandmother's big family on a little farm right on the shore of Lake Geneva. With time and family stories, I learned how much history was embedded in that farm and in family ties on both sides of Lake Geneva. That's because Lake Geneva, the lake itself, is the border between France and Switzerland. German Nazis occupied the French side, and Switzerland was neutral, like the promised land across the water. My grandmother's family were devout French Protestants, or Huguenots. France at that time was heavily Catholic, and the Huguenots were a small minority. Earlier in history, Huguenots had experienced terrible persecution, being forced to convert to Catholicism or flee. There's a huge diaspora of Huguenots all over the globe because of that. So these people, my family in France, had a deep understanding of oppression. It was in their DNA that the world is full of shadows. But as in the song, it was also in their DNA to shine well in their dark corners, Two of my grandmother's brothers became Huguenot ministers, and one, Oncle Henri, served in a small church in Tonon, a town on the French side of Lake Geneva, not far from the family land where I learned that song and where the family still gathers. In World War II, France was under the thumb of the Germans, and the family farmhouse had been taken over by the Germans, but its fields were still being farmed with potatoes. Oncle Henri's church in Tonon had an undercroft, a room beneath the sanctuary. He and others in there used their undercroft to hide Jewish people fleeing the Germans, feeding them in part with potatoes from the family farm, under the noses of the Germans in the farmhouse, the same farmhouse where I learned that song. And he helped people transit to Switzerland. My grandmother told the story of a young Jewish woman that he escorted to a little park above the lake on the French side. She hid in a building across from the park and waited for Oncle Henri to signal that the German sentry pacing back and forth in the park let her know when he had his back to them. And then she ran across the park, down the long stairway to the lake, down a pier, and jumped into a fishing boat where a fisherman was working on his nets in the water. He continued bending his nets as if nothing had changed for a while. Then he started his outboard and headed calmly out towards the Swiss side of the lake. My grandmother's sister, Tante Flo, lived on the Swiss side. Ironically, her husband was a military officer in Switzerland, charged with preventing foreigners from coming across the lake. But that meant that she knew the schedule of patrol boats on the lake and could help inform her brother on the French side when the coast was likely to be clear. Those two siblings were shining their lights quietly, doing what they could in their own dark corner. Although as a kid, I learned that song from my grandmother's siblings as a happy, catchy melody, actually. Now I think its message helped guide their lives, even in dangerous times. And I understand now why they wanted to sing it every day together when we were all together, to pass that message along to future generations, so we too can shine bright, even when we find ourselves in dark corners.
Thank you so much, Becky, Sky, Emily, and Betty, for sharing these precious stories with us today. And now I'm going to repeat something I said earlier in the service. Amongst the 200 and something of us in this wonderful community, we have so many other stories beyond the ones that you've just heard this morning of pushing through fear to do something hard. And even so, in times that we're not feeling particularly brave, Dara reminded me this week that we have our families, our friends, and this church community. And sometimes we can let our community be brave for us when we struggle to find our courage. So as we wind down this service, we're going to write some notes of encouragement to each other. There are index cards and writing utensils at the ends of the pews along the center aisles, and in a minute, but not quite yet, I'll ask the person sitting closest to the center aisle to pass those down the pews. And then you will take a quiet moment to write a note of encouragement to someone else in the church. You won't know who will receive your note yet, and they won't know who wrote the note either. But when you write down your note, what would you want to tell one of your friends from church who is trying to find courage in a time when they're afraid or unsure what to do next? All right, and so now I'm going to invite the folks sitting closest to the center aisle to pass down those index cards and pencils, and if for whatever reason some pews are short, just raise your hand and you can kind of sort it out amongst each other. And then we'll take a quiet moment together to write our notes. So as soon as you get your pen and pencil and your index card, feel free to start writing. All right, take the next 15 seconds to finish up your note. All right, for anyone still writing, you can feel invited to multitask. The next part of our ritual will be almost like the flower communion that we do every year in June, but instead it will be a courage communion. So while Chris plays some light piano music, I'm going to have you all process up the center aisle, so forming a line up and down the center aisle, and coming up to this table. And when you get here, you can drop your note into the basket, and you can pick out another note from the basket. Just make sure not to pick up the one that you wrote. And this note is yours to take home. And to return to your seats, why don't you all head up this side aisle so there's not congestion. And then you can head kind of all the way to the back and return to your seats from there. Let us begin. Thank you all so much. May we each find our inner lion's courageous roar in the days ahead. And when we're feeling short on courage, may we remember that there is an abundance of courage right here in this community that we can draw on and be inspired by. Amen. So with all of this in mind, we're going to join together in singing our courage song one more time, led by Chris and the choir. I invite you all to rise as you're willing and able. And actually, this time, if you're willing, feel free to extend your hands out and grab hands with people nearby to you. If that is uncomfortable for any reason, you can just go like this. And we know that you're extending your spiritual hands, even if your hands are like this.
Courage, my friends, you do not go alone. We will go with you and sing your spirit home. Courage, my friends, you do not go alone. We will go with you and sing your spirit home. Courage, my friends, you do not go alone. We will go with you and sing your spirit home. Courage, my friends, you do not go alone. We will go with you and sing your spirit home.
Such a good service today. As we approach the end of our service, I've got just a few announcements, and I'm going to go quickly because we are over time. You have to join us for social hour if you're here in the building, because it is Pie Sunday, and there's a lot of fabulous pies in there, so please do go and enjoy. And if you're joining us online, please do come for the sweetness of community and pretend you're having pies together. At 12:15, we've got our vernal equinox service. It'll be right out on that front patio. 1 p.m. Social Action Committee group meeting is going to be postponed. So if you're planning to go, watch your emails. We will update you. Family Fun Night today, 5:30 to 7:30. It's going to be fun. And I'm going to skip over the other announcements because you all can check your bell notes, please. Okay? And we always extinguish our chalice with words promising to carry its flame in our hearts until we are together again. So please join me from here in the building and at home or wherever you are joining us from in saying these words written by UU Minister Reverend Elizabeth Sally Jones. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, nor the warmth of community, the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again.
As we close our worship service this morning, take these words by Canadian-American UU Minister Reverend Maureen Killerin with you as a benediction. I pray this day for the courage to be humble in the face of inequity and pain, to know that the power has been given to me to make a difference, although not to end all suffering or to save all the whales that populate our days. I pray for the courage of endurance, to keep acting in the midst of despair, to keep trying in the aftermath of failure, to keep hoping in the emptiness that follows loss or change. May courage give me patience, and may I ever know love's healing presence at the heart and center of my days. Our service ultimately begins when our service ends, but is rooted in the blessings and courage that we give to each other. Amen, and go in peace.